The space around Earth was quiet and peaceful. Stars shined like tiny lights in the dark. People on the planet below went about their normal lives. They had no idea what was coming. Then the sky changed. Massive ships appeared out of nowhere. They were huge, bigger than any building on Earth. The ships were black and covered in strange lights. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They formed a circle around the planet like a net. Captain Dongwoo was at his desk in the Korean Space Defense Center when the alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. His coffee cup fell to the floor as he jumped up. "Sir," shouted a young officer. "We have contacts. Lots of them." Dongwoo ran to the main screen. His eyes went wide. The alien ships were enormous. Each one was the size of a city. Their weapons pointed down at Earth like angry fingers. At the same time, Commander Hyojin was in the Global Defense Command Center in Geneva. She stared at the same terrible sight on her screens. Her hands shook a little, but her voice stayed calm. "Get me every world leader on the line. Now," she ordered. The alien ships just waited. They hung in space like storm clouds. People on Earth looked up and saw death hanging over their heads. Some ran, some prayed. Some just stood there too scared to move. Then the message came. Every radio, every TV, every phone on Earth played the same voice at the same time. It spoke in perfect English, but somehow everyone heard it in their own language. "People of Earth," the voice said. It sounded cold and empty. "I am Admiral Vexitar of the Galactic Coalition. Your planet is now under our control." Dongwoo listened with his fists clenched tight. Around him, his officers watched the screens with fear in their eyes. "We have studied your world," the alien continued. "You are a young race, weak. Your weapons cannot hurt us. Your ships are toys compared to ours." The voice paused. In that silence, Dongwoo could hear his own heart beating. "We offer you one chance," Vexitar said. "Surrender now. Give up your weapons. Accept our rule. Do this, and most of you will live as our servants. Refuse, and we will destroy every city, every town, every living thing on your planet." Hyejin's fingers moved quickly over her keyboard. She was connecting to defense centers all over the world. Faces appeared on her screen. Generals, presidents, prime ministers. All of them looked scared. "You have one of your Earth hours to decide," the alien voice finished. "Choose wisely," the message ended. The world went quiet. In Seoul, Dongwoo looked at his team. They were all young, smart people who had joined the Space Defense Force to protect Earth. Now Earth needed them more than ever. "What are our orders, sir?" asked Lieutenant Ji-ho. He was barely 25 years old, with quick eyes and steady hands. He had been the best pilot in his class. "We fight," Dongwoo said simply. "But sir," another officer said, "look at those ships." "We don't stand a chance," Dongwoo turned to face his team. "Maybe not. But we're humans. We don't give up just because the odds are bad." At the same time, Hyejin was talking to world leaders. The President of the United States was there. So was the Prime Minister of Britain, the President of France, and dozens of others. "What's our assessment?" asked the American President. "Bad," Hyejin said honestly. "These ships are using technology we've never seen. Their weapons could probably destroy our entire fleet in minutes." "So we surrender?" asked someone. "Never," said another voice. It was the Prime Minister of Australia. "My grandfather fought in World War II. He taught me that some things are worth dying for." One by one, the leaders spoke. The answer was always the same. No surrender. Not ever. Meanwhile, in a small engineering lab in Busan, So-young was studying data from the alien ships. She was only 28, but she was already famous for her brilliant mind. She could look at any machine and understand how it worked. "Interesting," she said to herself as she looked at the readings. The alien ships were powerful, yes, but they weren't perfect. Nothing ever was. Her phone rang. It was Dongwoo. "So-young, we need your help," he said. "I know," she replied. "I'm already working on it. What do you see?" So-young looked at her screens. "I see ships that are very strong, but also very confident. Maybe too confident. What do you mean?" "They're not even trying to hide their weaknesses. They think we're too stupid to find them." Dongwoo smiled for the first time since the aliens arrived. "Are they wrong? Let's find out." All over Earth, people were making the same choice. In New York, a policeman told his family he loved them and went to his post. In Tokyo, factory workers started making weapons instead of cars. In London, scientists worked on new ways to fight back. The 1 hour was almost up. Admiral Vexitar sat in his command chair high above Earth. He had done this same thing 1,000 times before. Every planet always surrendered. It was the smart thing to do. His second-in-command, Commander Threx, looked at the readings from Earth. "Sir, they're moving their military forces," Threx reported. "To surrender points?" Vextar asked. "No, sir." "To defensive positions?" Vextar laughed. It was a sound like metal scraping against stone. "Foolish creatures. Do they think their primitive weapons can hurt us?" "What are your orders, Admiral?" "We'll give them a demonstration. Destroy one of their cities. Something small. That should change their minds," but Vextar didn't understand humans. He had never met a species that would choose death over slavery. In all his years of conquest, he had never faced an enemy that got more dangerous when cornered. On Earth, the hour was up. Heejin spoke for all humanity when she sent the reply. "This is Commander Heejin of Earth Defense. We have heard your offer. Our answer is no. We will not surrender. We will not kneel. If you want our world, you'll have to take it from our dead hands." The message went out to every alien ship. Vextar read it and felt something he hadn't felt in centuries: surprise. "Sir?" Commander Threx asked. "Your orders?" Vextar looked down at the blue planet below. Such a pretty world. It would be a shame to burn it all. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Show them what happens to those who defy the Coalition." But as the alien weapons powered up, something else was happening on Earth. In bases and bunkers around the world, humans were preparing to show the galaxy something new. They were about to learn what happened when you threatened everything a human loved. The war was about to begin. And Admiral Vextar had no idea what he had just started. Admiral Vextar looked at Earth like a teacher looking at a naughty child. These humans needed to learn a lesson. He would be gentle at first. Just enough force to make them understand. "Commander Threx," he said, "send Battle Group 7 to Earth. 100 ships should be enough." Threx looked surprised. "Only 100, sir? For an entire planet? These are primitives, Commander. We don't need our full fleet to swat a fly." Vextar leaned back in his chair. "Besides, this will be good training for our new officers." The 100 alien ships moved toward Earth. They were still massive and deadly, but they were nothing compared to the full fleet. Vextar was so sure of victory that he gave command to his youngest officers. "Let them have some practice." On Earth, Dongwu watched the enemy ships approach. His heart was beating fast, but his mind was clear. He had been planning for this moment since the aliens first appeared. "Jiho," he called to the young pilot. "Are you ready?" Jiho was sitting in the cockpit of his fighter. But it wasn't a normal fighter anymore. So Young had worked all night to change it. She had removed the life support systems, the ejection seat, even most of the armor. All of that weight was now bombs. Big ugly nuclear bombs that So Young had built from old power plant parts. "Ready, sir," Jiho said. His voice was steady, but Dongwu could hear the fear underneath. The boy knew this was probably a one-way trip. "Remember," Dongwu said, "their shields are designed to stop energy weapons. They've never seen anything like what we're throwing at them." All around the world, other pilots were sitting in similar ships. Mining vessels, cargo haulers, even old passenger planes. All of them loaded with bombs. All of them piloted by volunteers who knew they probably wouldn't come home. So Young was in her command center, watching everything on her screens. She had spent the whole night studying the alien ships. Their technology was amazing, but it had one big weakness. They had gotten too comfortable. Too sure of themselves. "Their shields are like a wall," she explained to Heejin over the radio. "Very good at stopping bullets and lasers. But what happens when a truck drives through a wall?" Heejin understood. "The truck gets destroyed, but so does the wall." Exactly. The alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere. They moved slowly, showing off their power. Their commander, a young alien officer named Sub-Admiral Krez, was excited. This was his first real battle. He would make the Coalition proud. "Target their military bases," Krez ordered. "Start with something small. We want survivors to spread the word about our power." The alien weapons charged up. Beams of pure energy reached down toward Earth like the fingers of an angry god. Then Dongwu gave the order. "All units attack." For Earth. Hundreds of human ships launched from hidden bases all over the planet. They weren't fast or pretty. Most of them were held together with tape and prayers. But they all had one thing in common. They were piloted by humans who had nothing left to lose. Jiho was in the lead. His ship screamed toward the nearest alien vessel. The enemy tried to shoot him down, but he was too fast and too crazy. "No sane pilot would fly like that." "Target locked," Jiho said into his radio. "See you on the other side." His ship hit the alien vessel at full speed. The nuclear bomb inside exploded on contact. The aliens' shields tried to stop it, but they were designed for energy, not for a ship full of explosives traveling at thousands of miles per hour. The alien ship broke apart like glass. All around Earth, the same thing was happening. Human pilots were flying their bomb ships straight into the enemy. The aliens tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. And humans, it turned out, were very good at flying when death didn't scare them. Sub-Admiral Krez watched in horror as his ships exploded one by one. This wasn't supposed to happen. These were primitives. How were they destroying Coalition warships? "Sir," his communications officer shouted. "We've lost 60 ships. "Impossible," Krez yelled back. "Humans don't have weapons that can hurt us." But the evidence was right there on his screens. Human ships were dying too, of course. Almost all of them. But they were taking alien ships with them, and there seemed to be an endless supply of humans willing to die. Dongwu was coordinating the attack from his command center. He watched as Jiho's signal disappeared from his screen. The young pilot was gone, but he had taken out one of the biggest alien ships. Phase 2, Dongwu ordered. All around Earth, satellites began to move. They weren't communication satellites anymore. So Young had turned them into weapons. Each one was loaded with metal rods that could hit a target anywhere on Earth. Now they turned their sights on the alien ships. The rods fell from space like rain. They weren't fancy or high-tech, just big pieces of metal moving very, very fast. But when something that heavy hits something that hard, fancy technology doesn't matter much. More alien ships died. Admiral Vextar watched from his flagship as his easy victory turned into a disaster. He had never seen anything like this. These humans were fighting like wild animals. No, worse than animals. Animals ran when they were beaten. Humans just got angrier. "Sir," Commander Threx said quietly, "perhaps we should send more ships." Vextar's pride was hurt. How could these primitives be winning? Send Battle Group 3 as well. 200 ships total. But it was too late for Sub-Admiral Krez. Only 20 of his ships were still flying. The humans had destroyed 80 alien warships with nothing but junk and determination. Krez tried to retreat, but Dongwu had one more surprise. As the alien ships tried to escape, they found their path blocked. Earth's space defense platforms, which had been hidden until now, opened fire. The platforms weren't much compared to alien technology. But So Young had learned something important while studying the enemy ships. Their rear armor was weaker than their front armor. They were used to fighting enemies who attacked head-on. The last of Krez's ships died in a storm of human weapons fire. The young sub-admiral's final transmission was just one word: impossible. On Earth, humans cheered. They had won the first battle. But Dongwu knew this was just the beginning. He looked at his casualty reports. Almost all of the pilots who had attacked were dead. Hundreds of brave people had died to destroy 100 alien ships. So Young appeared on his screen. She looked tired but excited. "Did you see their shield frequencies?" she asked. "What about them?" "I recorded everything. Now I know how their technology works. We can build better weapons." Heejin joined the conversation from her command center. "How long do we have?" Dongwu looked at the alien fleet still hanging in space above them. There were still thousands of ships up there. "Not long. This was just their first try. Next time, they'll be ready for us." "Then we'd better be ready for them," So Young said. Admiral Vextar stared at the reports from the battle. His best computers couldn't understand what had happened. The humans should have been crushed. Instead, they had destroyed an entire battle group. "Sir," Threx said carefully, "these humans, they're not like other species." "No," Vextar agreed. "They're not." He thought for a moment. "Send a message to the Coalition Council. Tell them we need more ships." "How many more, sir?" Vextar looked down at Earth. The blue planet looked so peaceful from up here, but he was beginning to understand that looks could be deceiving. "All of them," he said. The real war was about to begin. Admiral Vextar was no longer calm. The humans had embarrassed him in front of the entire coalition. His easy conquest had become a bloody nightmare. Now he would show these primitives what real power looked like. "Bring the entire fleet to bear," he ordered. "No more games. We burn this world to ash." Commander Threx felt uncomfortable. "Sir, the Coalition Council wants prisoners for study. If we destroy everything, the Council will get their prisoners," Vextar said coldly. "The few who survive in the ruins." Thousands of alien ships moved toward Earth. This time there would be no holding back. No training exercise for young officers. Vextar himself would lead the attack. On Earth, Hyojin watched the massive fleet approach. Her screen showed so many enemy ships that they looked like a metal cloud covering the stars. She felt a chill run down her spine. "Dongwu," she said over the radio. "They're bringing everything." "I see it," Dongwu replied from his command center. "How many ships?" 3,000? Maybe more?" There was silence on the radio. Both of them knew what those numbers meant. Earth's entire space defense force was maybe 50 ships. Even with all their tricks and traps, they couldn't fight odds like that. "Well," Dongwu said finally, "I guess we'll have to get creative." The alien attack began at dawn. Beams of pure energy fell from the sky like deadly rain. They hit military bases first, then cities. New York's skyline disappeared in a flash of light. Tokyo burned. London was gone in seconds, but something strange happened. Instead of surrender, the attacks made humans angrier. In the ruins of Berlin, a group of soldiers found an alien fighter that had been shot down. Instead of running away, they climbed inside and started taking it apart. They wanted to understand how it worked. In what was left of Paris, civilians were making bombs out of kitchen supplies. They couldn't reach the ships in space, but they could get ready for when the aliens came down. So Young was in a bunker deep underground, watching everything on her screens. The aliens were destroying Earth cities, but they were also making a mistake. Every ship they sent down to attack was a chance for her to learn more about their technology. "Hyojin," she said over the radio, "I need you to do something crazy." "How crazy?" "We need to capture one of their ships." "A big one?" Hyojin almost laughed. "With what army?" "They're destroying everything we have." "Not everything," So Young said. "Dongwu still has his reserve force, and I have an idea." Dongwu had been saving his best pilots and ships for a desperate moment. That moment had come. But So Young's plan was insane, even by human standards. "You want us to board their ship?" he asked. "Not board it, steal it," So Young explained her plan. The aliens were overconfident. They were flying their ships low to make sure their attacks hit the right targets. If a human pilot was fast enough and crazy enough, they might be able to land on the hull of an alien ship. "And then what?" Dongwu asked. "Then we cut our way inside and take over." "That's suicide." "Maybe. But if we can capture just one ship, I can learn how all of them work." Dongwu looked around his command center. Most of his best people were dead. The aliens were winning. Earth was dying. Maybe it was time for a suicide mission. "I'll do it," said a voice behind him. Dongwu turned around. It was Miran, one of his youngest pilots. She was barely 22 with short black hair and determined eyes. "Miran, no. This is too dangerous." "Everything is dangerous now," she said. "Besides, I'm the best pilot you have left." Dongwu wanted to say no. He had already sent too many young people to die. But Miran was right. She was the best pilot left, and Earth needed a miracle. "Okay," he said. "But you're not going alone." Within an hour, a small team was ready. Miran would fly the ship. Tae-jun, a demolitions expert, would handle the explosives they needed to cut through the alien hull. Kyung-ho, their best computer specialist, would try to hack the alien systems. It was a terrible plan with almost no chance of success, which made it perfect for humans. The team launched from a hidden base in the mountains. Their ship was small and fast, designed to avoid enemy sensors. They flew low, hiding among the clouds and smoke from burning cities. Above them, a massive alien cruiser was destroying what was left of Seoul. The ship was 2 miles long and covered in weapons. It looked impossible to attack. "Target acquired," Miran said calmly. She flew straight up toward the enemy ship. Alien fighters tried to stop her, but Miran flew like someone who didn't care about living. The enemy pilots couldn't predict her moves because her moves didn't make sense. The small human ship slammed into the alien cruiser's hull and stuck there like a bug on a windshield. Immediately, Tae-jun started cutting through the metal with a plasma torch that So Young had built from alien wreckage. Inside the alien ship, alarms began ringing. The crew couldn't understand what was happening. No one had ever tried to board their ship before. They didn't even have procedures for it. Captain Veldar, the ship's commander, stared at his screens in confusion. "What are those readings?" "Unknown, sir," his officer replied. "Something has attached to our hull." "Attached? How?" Before anyone could answer, Tae-jun's cutting torch broke through. The 3 humans dropped into the alien ship like commandos from an old war movie. The aliens inside were tall and gray with big heads and thin arms. They looked smart but not very strong. They certainly weren't ready for 3 angry humans with guns. Kyung-ho ran toward what looked like a computer terminal. The alien writing was strange, but the basic design was similar to human computers. So-young had been right. Technology was technology, no matter who built it. Taejun planted bombs throughout the ship, not to destroy it, but to convince the crew that surrender was better than death. Miran found the bridge and kicked down the door. Captain Veldar looked at her with shock. She was so small compared to his crew, but she had weapons and anger that made her seem 10 feet tall. "Surrender your ship," she said in broken alien language that Kyung-ho had taught her. "Impossible," Veldar replied. "I am a captain of the coalition. I do not surrender to primitives." Miran shot the controls next to his head. Sparks flew everywhere. "Surrender or die," she said. Veldar looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at these strange little creatures who had somehow taken over their ship. Half his systems were dead from the human bombs. His weapons were offline. I surrender," he said quietly. It was the first time in coalition history that a capital ship had surrendered to boarders. Kyung-ho worked frantically at the alien computers. His fingers flew over controls he didn't understand, but somehow it was working. The ship's systems were opening up to him like a flower. "I'm in," he shouted. "So-young, I'm downloading everything." Down on Earth, So-young received the data transmission and felt her heart race with excitement. Ship designs, weapon specs, shield frequencies, everything she needed to turn the war around. But the best part was the navigation data. The aliens had made a critical mistake. Their entire fleet was networked together, sharing information instantly. By hacking one ship, Kyung-ho had hacked them all. "Hyejin," So-young said over the radio. "I can see everything. All their ships, all their weapons, all their plans. What do we do with it?" So-young smiled for the first time since the war began. "We turn their own weapons against them." Admiral Vextar was beginning to realize that something was wrong. One of his ships had gone silent. Then another. Reports were coming in of impossible things. Humans inside alien ships, alien weapons firing on alien targets. "How is this possible?" he demanded. Commander Threx looked at the data with growing horror. "Sir, it appears the humans have learned to operate our technology." "In one day?" "Yes, sir." Vextar felt something he had never experienced before, fear. These humans weren't just fighting back. They were learning, adapting, getting stronger with every battle. On Earth, the tide was beginning to turn. Using captured alien ships, humans were fighting back in space. Using stolen alien technology, So-young was building weapons that could hurt the enemy. But most importantly, humans were showing the galaxy something new. They were proving that sometimes the best way to win a war wasn't to be stronger or smarter than your enemy. Sometimes you just had to refuse to lose. 3 months after the first alien ship fell to human hands, everything had changed. So-young had worked day and night to understand alien technology. Now humans were flying captured enemy ships and using alien weapons against their former owners. The war was no longer just about Earth, Captain. Dongwu stood on the bridge of the captured alien dreadnought. "Vengeance. That wasn't its real name. Aliens used numbers and codes, but humans needed names that meant something. This ship would bring vengeance for every burned city on Earth." "Jiho set course for Proxima Centauri," Dongwu ordered. Jiho was alive after all. His fighter had been destroyed, but he had ejected at the last second. Now he was piloting the biggest warship humans had ever controlled. The irony wasn't lost on him. "Course set, Captain. We'll reach the alien staging area in 6 hours." Dongwu nodded. So-young's intelligence network had discovered that the aliens were using Proxima Centauri as their supply base. Destroy that and their invasion fleet would be cut off from reinforcements. It was a dangerous plan. They would be deep in enemy territory with no backup. But humans had stopped worrying about safe plans months ago. Behind them, 20 more captured alien ships followed. Each one was crewed by humans who had learned to operate alien technology through trial, error, and desperation. They weren't as skilled as the original crews, but they had something the aliens had never faced: pure determination. Hyejin was coordinating the attack from Earth. Her command center had grown from a small room to an entire underground city. Refugees from destroyed cities worked alongside soldiers and scientists, all united by one goal: make the aliens pay. "Dongwu," she said over the long-range communicator. "Our spies report movement in the alien fleet. What kind of movement? They're pulling ships back from other sectors. Word is spreading about human resistance. So Young appeared on the communication screen. She looked tired but excited. That's not all. We're getting reports from other worlds. Well, what kind of reports? Rebellion. The aliens have been conquering planets for thousands of years. But when those enslaved species heard that humans were fighting back and winning, they started fighting too. Dongwu felt a surge of pride. Humans weren't just saving themselves. They were inspiring an entire galaxy to stand up to the coalition. The alien staging area at Proxima Centauri was a massive space station surrounded by defense platforms. It had been built to supply the invasion of 100 worlds. The aliens never imagined it would need to defend itself against primitives from a backwater planet. Admiral Cortex commanded the station. He was older than Vextar and much more experienced. When he saw human ships approaching on his sensors, he wasn't surprised. He had been expecting this. Activate all defenses, he ordered calmly. These humans have been lucky so far, but luck runs out. The defense platforms opened fire as soon as the human ships came into range. Beams of energy reached across space like deadly fingers. But the humans didn't try to dodge. Instead, they flew straight into the attack. Shields holding, Jiho reported as their ship shook under enemy fire. Good, Dongwu said. Remember, we're not here to dance with them. We're here to win. The human ships split into 3 groups. One group attacked the defense platforms head-on, drawing their fire. The second group circled around to attack the space station from behind. The third group, led by Dongwu, had a special mission. There, Dongwu pointed at a section of the station. That's where they keep their communication equipment. Destroy that and they can't call for help. Jiho grinned. Flying an alien dreadnought was like being given the keys to a sports car after driving an old truck your whole life. I see it, Captain. Beginning attack run. The alien station was powerful, but it had one weakness. It was designed to fight other alien ships that followed predictable tactics. Human ships didn't follow any tactics that made sense. Myran, now commanding her own captured cruiser, flew directly into the station's docking bay. The aliens tried to close the doors, but she was already inside. Her ship opened fire at point-blank range, destroying everything in sight. This is Myran, she reported over the radio. I'm inside the station. Their internal defenses can't handle close combat. Other human ships followed her example. Instead of fighting from a distance like civilized species, they flew right into the enemy base and started shooting everything that moved. Admiral Cortex watched his carefully organized defense turn into chaos. How are they doing this? He demanded. Sir, his aide replied nervously. They're not following standard attack patterns. Our computers can't predict their movements. Then use manual targeting. We're trying, sir, but they're moving too fast and too randomly. Cortex realized the truth. These humans weren't just lucky. They were genuinely different from every other species the Coalition had ever fought. They didn't care about losses. They didn't care about tactics. They just cared about winning. Dongwu's ship reached the communication center and blasted it to pieces. Instantly, the station was cut off from the rest of the alien fleet. No calls for help. No reports of the attack. The Coalition would only learn what happened when ships failed to return. Phase 2, Dongwu ordered. The human ships regrouped and attacked the station's power core. This was the most dangerous part of the plan. If they damaged it wrong, the explosion would destroy everyone, humans and aliens alike. But So Young had studied the alien power systems carefully. She knew exactly where to hit them. Targeting the main reactor, Jiho announced. Firing. The alien power core erupted in a controlled explosion that tore the station apart. But it was a slow destruction, giving everyone time to escape, even the aliens. Admiral Cortex found himself in an escape pod, watching his base die. For the first time in his long career, he had been defeated, not by superior technology or numbers, but by sheer human stubbornness. The attack on Proxima Centauri sent shockwaves through the Galactic Coalition. For the first time in their history, humans had struck deep into alien territory and won. But more importantly, the victory proved something to the enslaved species throughout the galaxy. The Coalition could be beaten. Their ships could be destroyed. Their bases could be captured. Within days, rebellions broke out on a dozen worlds. Species that had been slaves for centuries suddenly remembered what freedom felt like. They looked to Earth as proof that resistance was possible. He Jin received reports from across the galaxy. On Kepler 442b, the reptilian saurians had captured an entire alien fleet. On Wolf 359c, the crystalline shardlings were using their natural camouflage to ambush coalition patrols. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore," she told Dongwu during his return journey. "We're fighting for everyone." Dongwu looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, beings he had never met were fighting the same enemy, inspired by human courage. It was a strange feeling, being a symbol of hope for an entire galaxy. "Any word from Admiral Vextar?" he asked. "He's recalled most of his fleet to protect coalition core worlds. The attacks are spreading faster than they can handle." So Young joined the conversation from her laboratory. "I've been analyzing the data we captured at Proxima Centauri. The coalition is in real trouble. They have technology and numbers, but they've never faced a galaxy-wide rebellion before." "What's our next move?" Dongwu asked. "We take the war to them," Hyejin said firmly. "They came to our home and tried to destroy it. Now we return the favor." Admiral Vexatar sat in his command chair, staring at reports of defeat after defeat. His mighty coalition was crumbling, and it was all because of one small blue planet that had refused to surrender. "Sir," Commander Threck said quietly, "the Council is demanding an explanation." "What explanation can I give?" Vextar replied bitterly. "That we underestimated a species that treats death as a minor inconvenience. That we tried to conquer beings who get stronger when you hurt them." "What are your orders, sir?" Vextar thought for a long moment. The humans had won every battle by doing the unexpected. Maybe it was time for the Coalition to try something unexpected too. "Prepare the World Killer," he said finally. Threx went pale. The World Killer was the Coalition's ultimate weapon, a ship designed to destroy entire planets. It had only been used once before, as an example to rebellious worlds. "Sir, the Council forbids the use of planet-destroying weapons except in extreme circumstances." "These are extreme circumstances, Commander. If we don't stop the humans now, their rebellion will destroy the Coalition entirely." As the massive World Killer began its journey toward Earth, both sides prepared for the final battle. The aliens would try to end the war with one overwhelming blow. The humans would try to prove that no weapon was too powerful to defeat. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see who would win. The World Killer was a monster of metal and death. It was 50 miles long and covered in weapons that could crack planets like eggs. For 3,000 years, it had been the Coalition's final answer to any species that dared to resist them. Admiral Vextar stood on its bridge, watching Earth grow larger on his screens. This time there would be no mistakes. No captured ships, no human tricks. He would destroy the entire planet and end this rebellion once and for all. "Charging the main weapon," his weapons officer reported. "Planet Killer will be ready to fire in 1 hour." "Good," Vextar said. "This ends today." On Earth, Hyejin watched the approaching doomsday ship with grim determination. Every sensor on the planet was tracking the massive vessel. There was no hiding from something that big. "Well," she said to her staff, "it looks like they're done playing games." "What are our options?" asked General Park, her military advisor. "Honestly, not many. That ship is designed to destroy planets. All our weapons combined probably couldn't scratch its armor. But Hyejin hadn't survived this long by giving up. "Get me So Young and Dongwu. If we're going to die, we might as well make it interesting." So Young was in her laboratory on the moon, working on humanity's most desperate project yet. For months, she had been studying the alien gravitational technology that powered their fastest ships. Now she was trying to use it for something no one had ever attempted before. "So Young," Hyejin said over the communicator, "please tell me you have good news." "Define good," So Young replied, not looking up from her work. "I can turn the moon into a giant railgun, but firing it will probably destroy the Earth too." "What do you mean?" "The gravitational forces needed to launch something as big as the moon. Let's just say it won't be gentle on anything nearby." Dongwu joined the conversation from his flagship. He was leading the combined human fleet, captured alien ships mixed with the few remaining Earth vessels. "Against the World Killer, they looked like toys. How long do we have?" he asked. 57 minutes until they can fire," Hyejin replied. "And your moon railgun?" "Needs at least an hour to charge," So Young said. "So we need to buy you time." "Dongwu, no," Hyejin said firmly. "That ship will destroy your entire fleet in minutes." "Maybe. But maybe we can give So Young the time she needs." Dongwu had been thinking about this moment for months. Ever since the war began, he had known it might come down to one impossible choice. Save Earth by sacrificing everything else or watch everything burn. All ships, he said over the fleet communication system. This is Captain Dongwu. In a few minutes, we're going to attack the biggest, most dangerous ship in the galaxy. Most of us won't survive, but if we can delay them long enough, So Young might be able to save our world. He paused, looking around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They were all young, all brave, all about to die for a planet most of them would never see again. I won't order anyone to follow me on this mission. It's suicide, pure and simple. But if you want to volunteer, every ship in the fleet replied instantly. Not with words, but by turning toward the world killer and accelerating to attack speed. Admiral Vextar watched the human fleet approach with something almost like respect. These creatures never stopped fighting, even when they were completely outmatched. Sir, his tactical officer said, the human ships are attacking. I can see that. Destroy them. The world killer's defensive weapons opened fire. Beams of energy reached across space and started tearing human ships apart, but the humans kept coming. Miran was flying her cruiser straight at the enemy's main guns. She knew she couldn't hurt them, but maybe she could block their view for a few seconds. This is Miran, she said calmly into her radio. I'm going in. Her ship exploded against the world killer's armor, but not before her guns had damaged several weapon systems. One small victory in a hopeless battle. Dongwu watched his friends die one by one. Each explosion on his screen was someone he had trained with, fought beside, shared meals with. The pain was almost unbearable, but he didn't stop. None of them did. Jiho was flying a captured alien destroyer when his engines failed. Instead of trying to escape, he aimed his dying ship at the world killer's sensor array. Jiho, eject, Dongwu ordered. No time, Captain. Tell my family I did my duty. Another explosion. Another friend gone. On the moon, So Young was pushing her equipment beyond its limits. The gravitational generators were overheating, threatening to explode and take the entire moon base with them. But she couldn't slow down. Too many people were dying to buy her this time. 40% charged, she reported to Hyejin. The fleet won't last much longer, Hyejin replied. So Young looked at her screen showing the battle in space. Dongwu's ships were being destroyed one by one. But they were also doing something important. They were getting in the way. Every time the world killer tried to target Earth, a human ship would fly into the line of fire. They couldn't hurt the massive vessel, but they could delay it. Admiral Vextar was getting frustrated. His ship was designed to destroy planets, not fight off swarms of small vessels. It was like trying to use a sledgehammer to swat flies. How much longer until the main weapon is ready? He demanded. 30 minutes, sir. But these human ships keep blocking our targeting sensors. Then destroy them faster. We're trying, sir, but there are so many of them, and they keep doing unpredictable things. Vextar watched a human pilot ram his damaged ship into one of the world killer's weapon ports. The explosion barely scratched the armor, but it took out an entire gun battery. These humans were insane. But their insanity was working. Dongwu was down to his last ship. Everyone else was gone. Miran, Jiho, all the brave pilots who had followed him into this hopeless battle. He was alone except for his crew, facing a ship that could destroy worlds, Captain. His navigation officer said quietly. What are your orders? Dongwu looked at Earth hanging in space behind them. Blue and beautiful and full of life. Worth any sacrifice, full power to engines, he said. We're going to ram their main weapon. His crew didn't argue. They had all volunteered for this mission knowing how it would end. But before Dongwu could make his final attack, So Young's voice came over the radio. 90% charged. Get clear! Dongwu felt a surge of hope. Maybe they had done it. Maybe they had bought enough time. All hands brace for impact, he ordered, turning his ship away from the world killer. On the moon, So Young made final adjustments to her impossible weapon. She had turned humanity's oldest companion into the largest gun in the solar system. It would only fire once. The forces involved would tear the moon apart. But once would be enough. Target locked, she announced. Firing! The moon lurched in its orbit as gravitational forces beyond imagination seized it. For a moment, Earth's satellite hung motionless in space. Then it shot forward like a bullet fired from the hand of God. Admiral Vextar saw the moon moving toward his ship and felt his mind refuse to accept what he was seeing. That's impossible, he whispered. The moon struck the world killer at a significant fraction of light speed. The impact was visible from other star systems, a flash of light that outshone the sun for several seconds. When the light faded, both the moon and the world killer were gone. In their place was an expanding cloud of debris and twisted metal. The shockwave from the collision raced through space and hyperspace, damaging coalition ships across dozens of star systems. Communication networks crashed. Supply lines were cut. The entire alien empire felt the impact of Earth's desperate gambit. Dongwu's ship was thrown thousands of miles by the explosion, but his crew managed to regain control. They stared at the empty space where the most powerful ship in the galaxy had been. "Is it over?" someone asked. Before anyone could answer, new contacts appeared on their sensors. Ships were arriving from hyperspace, thousands of them. For a moment, Dongwu thought the coalition was sending reinforcements. Then he realized the truth. These weren't coalition ships. They were rebels. Species from across the galaxy had seen the destruction of the world killer and decided that the time for hiding was over. Saurian battleships emerged alongside Shardling stealth vessels. The aquatic tidecallers brought their bioships from the ocean worlds. Even species that had been enslaved for millennia were joining the fight. Heejin watched the rebellion spread across her screens and felt tears in her eyes. Humanity's sacrifice had done more than save Earth. It had inspired an entire galaxy to stand up for freedom. The coalition tried to respond, but their remaining forces were scattered and demoralized. Admiral Vextar was dead, along with most of the coalition's leadership. Their ultimate weapon was destroyed. Their empire was in ruins. Within a year, the last coalition strongholds had fallen. The galaxy was free for the first time in thousands of years. Dongwu stood on the bridge of a new ship, one built by humans and aliens working together. He was older now, and tired, but proud of what they had accomplished. "Captain," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a message from the coalition's final base. They want to surrender." Dongwu thought about all the friends he had lost, all the cities that had burned, all the suffering the aliens had caused. Part of him wanted revenge. But then he thought about what Heejin had said months ago. They weren't just fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting for everyone.